many times have you said to yourself, I have a project I want to do, or I have a book I want to write, or even I have an old friend I want to call, and simply never get around to doing it? Well, if you're like most people, and I include myself in this, you think about it a lot and never take action because you keep telling yourself, I just don't have the time. Well, what if there were a way you can get more done in your life than you could ever imagine? That's what we're going to talk about now with the man who calls himself America's Chief Results Officer, Blaine Oelkers. Blaine is a leading authority in personal implementation and consistency, a TEDx speaker, and the author of several books, including Mastering Think and Grow Rich. Welcome to the Dream Power Show, Blaine.
Hey, Debbie, thank you so much for having me on. It is a pleasure and honor to be here. And I have been dreaming all week about being on here and serving the listeners. And even last night, it was funny. I woke up in the middle of the night, and I tend not to remember my dreams, but I had two hard problems that I was working on. And sure enough, I woke up in the middle of the night and kind of through the dreaming, solved both those problems. So anyway, you're on my brain, you're in my dreams, and happy to be here.
Well, I tell you, you are a great advertisement for dream work because that's exactly what we do. When we pay attention to our dreams, they are a place to solve our problems. So,
Yeah, I've
there you
noticed that,
go.
especially, I don't know, just turning it over to the subconscious and through the dreams, I get the idea. Sometimes it's a full idea, sometimes just a spark, but both of those prove very effective.
Yeah, that's what I preach and why I say everybody does dream, whether you remember it or not. And even if you don't remember your dream, I mean, how many times have, you woken up and said, oh, that's the answer. You may not have remembered the dream, but you dreamed the response and the answer in your dream. So that's it. But Blaine, I want to talk about you because
Okay.
like I said in the intro, I called you America's Chief Results Officer, and that's a pretty big title. So how did you get that title and how many results do you achieve?
Yeah, so I had two moments of dawning comprehension that actually kind of led me to this point. And the first one happened in college. So I went to Purdue University, and I saw this ad. Now, like many of your listeners, I'm a seeker. Like, I'm looking for knowledge. I want to figure out how to do things right. And so I saw this ad, and it was the reading of a book called Think and Grow Rich by Earl Nightingale. This guy, Earl Nightingale, is kind of a famous self-development guy. Anyway, so I sent away for this tape, the audio cassette tape, dating myself. Anyway, so I got this audio cassette and I listened to it and I read this book. The audio tape inspired me to read the book. And in the reading of the book, I realized, and I came up with a little acronym later, what you think about, you bring about. And the power of thoughts, but also the manifestation of you taking action. So what you think about, you bring it about. So in this book, it was about what you think, but it was also about you taking action on what you think. And so that kind of opened me up, and I had a lot of success. Actually met my wife in college, and got a degree in computer science and had a great job. And the second moment of dawning comprehension happened for me when I came back from this business trip, and I was gone for like a week. And my son Bo, he was 1 year old, and I get home and he's acting weird, and I'm like, Beth, is Bo, is he sick? Like, he's acting weird. She says, no, he's not sick, but you were gone so long that he kind of forgot who you were. And like emotionally, that hit me hard. And so that night, I made a clarifying decision that no matter what, I was going to work from home. Like, I was going to be a work from home dad. And it took me a year, started two businesses, took me a year. We're pretty conservative. We wanted to save enough money just in case. And we had another child on the way at that point. But a year later, I did break free. And so that was 28 years ago. So for now, the kids are grown and gone. But I was that stay-at-home dad. I could coach things, I could do all that stuff. But what that did for me is that set me up in my life to have the time to figure out, like, why is Blaine on the planet, right? Why does God have me here? Why does the universe put me here at this time? And I realized that I'm here to help people take control of their lives by taking control of themselves, something I call self-fluence. And so I started a company in 2009 to do that. And some of my friends were starting mastermind groups of business owners. So I started working with them, and we were getting like just massive results on a weekly basis, and I set up a framework to help people organize themselves in small groups and make sure they get stuff done and celebrate the things they get done. And so these, we call them personal implementation plans, were working so well that they started calling me the chief results officer. So it's kind of an organic title. But then I thought, wow, I hadn't heard that. So I went to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, and sure enough, no one had it. So I got the registered, the R with the circle. So I'm America's only chief results officer, and I oversee probably about 20,000 weekly personal implementation plans a year. So I see a lot of results. I'm energized by the results, and I hope that maybe something I share today could help people here to get results.
Well, one of the things that you do talk about as a way of achieving results and achieving goals is by creating good habits. And I've always been told that it takes anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks to embody a new habit. But you actually say that you can get a habit in only 21 seconds. That sounds remarkable. So tell me about that.
Yeah, so this concept I call it the 21-second habits. How to create a new habit in 21 seconds, not 21 days. Now, the 21 days, there is some truth to that in that the neural pathways, if you start a new habit, after about 21 days, the pathways for you to think more quickly or to need less willpower to do that, those pathways begin to insulate. I think they call it mylation, but they begin to insulate, so it becomes easier to do the habit. But scientifically, brain science is like so advancing so fast now. They can measure this in your brain, and it actually takes 63 days to really hardwire a habit. Now we're going to short circuit all that. We're going to kind of hack all that. But there's three things that you can do to actually create a new habit in 21 seconds, not 21 days. So I'll share a little story on how this all came about. So my wife, she used to have, this is glad past tense, she used to have nearly daily migraine headaches. And so she'd have, the migraine headaches, and so we're going to all these doctors. And this one doctor said, look, you got to keep a very detailed headache log. So you have to write down like what you eat and like what the weather is and what the barometric pressure is. And when you get a migraine, what are the cues and the triggers and all this stuff. And so my wife had this headache log. She would fill it out for a couple of days. Then she'd lose it. She'd forget to do it. Then she'd have a migraine and I'd ask her about it. No, bad move. So I realized quickly not to do that. And then one day I'm watching her brush her teeth. Now, most people have teeth. Most people brush their teeth. But my wife is a really good brusher. She does 2 minutes in the morning and 2 minutes at night, just like the dentist recommends. And so I'm watching her do that. I said, look, honey, let's do this. You brush your teeth every day, no willpower required. You're a master at that. Why don't we do this? Let's take the headache log, put it underneath the toothbrush or the toothpaste. And now every time you brush your teeth, you fill out the log. So you got 2 minutes at night, 2 minutes in the morning. You're never going to lose it because you know where it is. And so the first key to the 21-second habit is what we call habit linking. So you link the new habit to an existing habit that you're already a master at, no willpower required. It's going to happen anyway. Now, it's good to leave a cue or a trigger, so that when you're doing the habit that you're already doing, it kind of reminds you to do the other habit. But that was the concept of habit linking. And she went 90 days in a row of filling out that log. And we went back to the doctor. Now she has migraines maybe once a quarter. But anyway, the smile on her face when she went back to that doctor and had that thing all filled out was priceless. So I looked at that and I said, okay, I want to do that. Let me test this thing out. Let me test this habit linking out. Can I really start a new habit instantly? And so I had two new habits that I wanted to start. One is I wanted to do this Bible app, but the second one was I wanted to take a mind shower every morning. And so I know everybody, you kind of wash your body once a day in the shower, but I wanted to take that principle and I wanted to wash the head trash out of my mind, right? So social media, news, well-meaning friends and relatives, would kind of add to my head trash every day. And I wanted to wash that out. So I was going to use an app for both of those things, Bible app and an app called Headspace. And so what I did is I thought, okay, what could I have it linked to? And I realized that every single day, the first thing I do every day, which is really one of the most powerful things you can link to, is that I open up my smartphone, right? So I open up my smartphone. So what I did is I moved all the apps off the home page and I just put those two apps on there. And then, when I open my phone, I had to do those two apps before I could do anything else. And now this is where the second key. So the first key is habit linking. The second key, though, to you solidifying the habit is what we call urge surfing. So you have to surf some urge, some desire to push you to get you to do that. Like in my wife's case, she could not go to bed with that gritty feeling on her teeth. She had to brush her teeth to get rid of that feeling. And so for me, I figure like, why do I open up my phone first thing? Well, my son lives in Denmark, so he might be texting me. I want to see what emails have come in, what's my social media, what orders have come in, how are my investments doing, like all this stuff I want to know. And I have all this desire, and I surf that desire to push me to go to do those two things. And today, this morning, when I got up, I opened my phone and I did those things. And today was day 1,919 days ago. That's when I kind of discovered these 21-second habits, because the apps keep track of that every single day. So good, so cool. So habit linking, urge surfing, and then the last part is leverage. Now, leverage means you want to keep this new habit, so you need some leverage on yourself, and positive and negative works, pain and pleasure works, reward and penalties work. So if you have a new habit and you say, look, if I do this habit for a week, then I'm going to give myself, I'm going to buy that book that I wanted to buy, right? And then the flip side, so that's a reward, give yourself a reward. The flip side is to have some kind of a leverage or penalty if you don't get it done. Now, typically friends and spouses, they love to give you the penalty. So my wife has no problem saying, oh, okay, if you don't do that habit, then you have to wash the garbage cans, the big ones that we put out by the street. So she knows that I hate to do that. If she really wants me to get it done, she'll say, okay, your leverage, if you don't get it done, is you have to wash the neighbor's garbage cans. Now, if I touch the garbage cans, they're coming after me. So that's not going to happen. But anyway, so those are the three things. I'll give you one more example. Just the other day, I had a friend, Anne, she's an attorney, and she's like, Blaine, you always talk about next day planning. And that's like a key. Next day planning, super key. And she says, I'm not doing it, and I really want to do it. So I say, Anne, okay, let's do some habit linking. What do you do first thing in the morning? No willpower required. It happens every day. She said, I have a cup of coffee. She said, I make a cup of coffee. And I said, oh, do you have one of those fancy machines like my wife has that, grinds the beans and makes it? She goes, yes, I have that. So I said, here's what I want you to do. Take a pad and pen, put it on top of the coffee machine. In the morning, go over there, make the coffee, smell the coffee. You can't sip the coffee until you start your plan for the day. Now, if the plan's all done, enjoy the coffee. But if it's not, she's going to surf the urge to drink that coffee. She really wants that coffee to get the plan started and to do it. And then I said, look, give yourself a reward. If you do it for this whole week, give yourself a little reward. And then, ask your husband if he's got a little penalty if you don't get it done. But anyway, that is the way. And the key is keep it simple in the beginning to start, but really look at what could you link to and what urge can you surf. Those are probably that's the most important. And there's so many things that you are already a master at. Brushing your teeth happens every day. Getting dressed happens every day. Typically some kind of a meal, a breakfast or a lunch or a dinner happens every day. You get in your car most days. I mean, there's so many things that you can link to. And again, good to have a little cue there. But I have used this now for years, helping people create new habits basically kind of instantly.
That is amazing. And you've got me inspired. So I have to try this. But let me just go repeat it back to you just to make sure I've got it. One of the things that I love to do is write. And I've kind of gotten it on a kind of sporadic basis. Like during the pandemic, I was motivated. I wrote every single day. It was like that was my thing to do. And then, things eased and, we got back into, normal habits. And I've gotten more sporadic at it. So if I want to create the habit of writing every day, and one of the things I do every morning is make a cup of coffee, just like that, that's like breakfast. So you're saying that one of the things to do is to link it with, okay, I'm going to drink my coffee and then I'm going to write. And is that
Yeah, but the thing would be is you have this urge to have the cup of coffee. So make sure that you actually start the writing. You have to start the writing before you take the first sip. Now you can drink the coffee and write, that's fine, but you get started, before you're allowed to have the reward or the coffee. But that happens every day, and you put some kind of a cue, like a notebook or something, or a note on the coffee machine, to remind you that you have to start the writing. And the other key psychologically is, Debbie, I want you to win every single day. What I mean by that is if you have to shrink it down, like if the writing you like to write for an hour, but you only have 10 minutes, still do the writing, even if it's just 10 minutes, so that you can keep the chain. Psychologically, it's so good to keep the chain and the number of days in a row. Like in my case, I like a 10-minute mind shower. But you know what? Sometimes I only have 2, 3 minutes, and I'll still do it. I'll chunk it down, but I still do the thing, and I still keep that commitment to myself. So for you, yeah, you would you could do it, link it to the coffee, and then also give yourself a reward. Like if you write 4 or 5 days in a row, you get to buy the book you wanted, or some little reward for yourself.
But Blaine, before we go back into that, I am fascinated by this whole idea of taking a mind shower. I think that is a wonderful idea, and I think that that could benefit everybody. So, can you go into a little bit of a detail of what consists of a mind shower?
Yeah, definitely. And so this has been a game changer for me on a number of levels. But what a mind shower is, similar to a physical shower, right? Is you in a physical shower, right? You go in and you wash your body, and then you rinse it off, and then you dry off. And so the first thing is the shower is something that you do in a somewhat distracted free environment. Actually, earlier today you talked about daydreaming, or dreaming during the day, and I will say that when I take a shower, some of my best ideas kind of come out of my dream, like because I'm in this environment, where there's no phones and no one's talking to me and the water's running. And anyway, I find that to be one of my dream access points, so to speak. But you're trying to do the same thing, but this time with your mind. So typically, I go to a place where I'm not going to be disturbed, distraction free, place. And then what you want to do is, yeah, you want to calm your mind. You kind of want to take out all the head trash. So let things go. And there are a lot of different apps you can use for this. I primarily use an app called Headspace, which is a meditation app. So you can have walk through any kind of I walk through a breathing exercise typically, but it calms out the mind, and I'm just letting the stuff go from yesterday. Anything that's still hanging around that's bad, and then I'm also so that's kind of the rinsing or the soap up phase and get all the dirt off, and then I'm rinsing, I'm rinsing the dirt out with some deep breathings and begin to visualize, what is my intention for the day? And so that's kind of like the toweling off where you're finally getting ready to go back out into the world again. And what I found with the mind shower was that the lens of the future that you look through actually dictates how your physical reality shows up. And so that's why this mind shower is so important, to kind of get out the garbage of the yesterday, kind of accept who you are, learn from your failures. They're just stepping stones, right? And move on from that stuff, but then set the intention for the day. I'll give you an example. So like Debbie, if I said to you, Debbie, I don't know how I know this, but I have this feeling, this intuition that today is going to be just a really bad day for you. I'm sorry about that. So now, because that's the lens I just dropped into your brain, you're going to be kind of a little timid, a little shy. Oh, what's going to happen? And let's say you step out to cross the street there in New York City, and you're almost hit by a car. You're almost hit by this taxi who was driving too fast, and you go, oh gosh, Blaine was right, And now your physiology, you're scared, you're withdrawn, your brain chemistry, your physiology and your brain chemistry is all like scared. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? And you have a terrible day. Now, same day, same exact events. I drop a different lens in. Debbie, today, I don't know why, but the universe is going to be really good to you. Today's going to be one of the best days of your life. It's like a game-changing day, one of the best days of your whole life. Same events happen. You step out, you're almost hit by the yellow taxi cab. And this time you say, wow, Blaine was right. I'm spared. The universe has a meaning for me. And you're upbeat and your physiology is open and you're excited and you're looking for the next good thing to happen. And those circumstances didn't dictate that. Your lens dictated the physical, your physiology, your brain chemistry, all that stuff. And so that was a big breakthrough for me. Now, I would say, not all days are great days, but I'm dropping that lens in and I'm making much better days than I used to by kind of putting that lens in and looking for what are my wins going to be for today and really expecting them.
Yeah, and also I think it also makes, when you do have a bad day, it makes the bad day feel less bad than it would be otherwise. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's all about
100%. You,
it's
you
all
you
about
kind of
that.
become the person trying to learn from the day, right? And you're more of an observer of those things to figure out, yeah, how can I get benefit from that? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had one of those incidents yesterday. I was driving with my granddaughter, and I was coming around a turn, and all of a sudden this car is coming right at me. And I was able to, accelerate a little bit enough just to avoid it. But it was like if I had braked or if I going a little slower, it's like bam, something terrible could have happened. But afterwards, I took a big, big deep breath and said, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that this car is working and I was able to protect not just me, but my granddaughter in getting through the day. So it is really all about the way we look at things and not just look at the event and say, oh, that's a terrible thing.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of your brain chemistry and your thoughts and your moods come from how you compare things, right? So if you go like you went into that state of gratitude that you made it, right? That nothing happened. But the same thing would have been true for you. Let's say you did get hit. You got hit by that car and your car got, all smashed up, but you and your granddaughter were okay. You could take that same posture again, right? By saying, hey, I'm grateful that we're alive. I'm grateful this car, held up enough that we didn't get injured, right? So anyway, most times, 99 times out of 100, that comparison, how you decide to process that thing is what makes all the difference, right? Jim Rohn, one of my favorite mentors, he says, it's not what happens that determines your life future. It's what you do about what happens, what you think about, how you compare it. So great point there, Debbie.
Oh, it is. I want to get back for a brief moment about this whole thing about creating these habits, because I think that could be a game changer for everybody if they take it. But let's say there's somebody listening to this and say, wow, that is a great idea. And they do the one thing that so many people do. And, I also include myself in that as well. They procrastinate. So, how do you build up the habit of taking action, deciding to take action and take that action?
Yeah, I think that's very common. Happens a lot, right? And a lot of times I'll be coaching someone and they'll be like, you know what, Blaine, I'm going to start. I need to start exercising. I said, great. What do you want to do? And so it's like, I want to exercise 30 minutes a day. They go, okay, 30 minutes every day. Yeah, every day. I said, okay, let's try for a week. Like I don't know what their capabilities and capacities are going to be, right? But we try for a week. They never do the 7 days, right? Maybe 2 or 3. They're really upset. They're beating themselves up, because they couldn't do what they said they wanted to do, right? And they started procrastinating. And so, what you want to do in this case is that you want to make sure, I like to say, win early, win often, right? You want to make sure that you win. So when someone says something like that, I would say what you have to do is if you're procrastinating on something, there's a resistance to it between you and the thing. There's a resistance, right? And let's say that it's it's a wall of resistance, and you're not doing it. Like let's say exercising every day, right? And so what you have to do is you have to shrink the wall down to a spot where you will jump over. Okay, so 30 minutes a day is too much. Maybe we say 10 minutes a day. And now instead of 2 or 3 days, maybe they do it for 5, but they still didn't get to the 7. Then I lower the wall again, and I wanted to get down to maybe I have to go down to 1 minute, right? There are some clients that they're starting a new habit, meditation, exercise, whatever. And we had to go down to 1 minute to make. I was like, you have 1 minute before you get in the shower. You have it linked that you put a ribbon around the knob for the shower. You can't turn the shower on unless you did your 1 minute of exercise. Do some jumping jacks, do some push up, do something, right? You want to win. And we're kind of wired for winning. And so I would say the procrastinators, let's bring it down till there's not till you don't see the wall at all, and it becomes very easy to cross over. Now, once you do that, then you go from a minute to 3 minutes to 5 minutes, and then some days it's 30 minutes, but some days you fall back in, right? Like I would say, most days I want to do a 10-minute mind shower, but my average is probably 5 minutes because some days I do 10, but sometimes I do 3, right? But I want to keep winning. And so the procrastinator, yes, we got to lower the resistance to where it's so low that you almost do it immediately because it's that if 1 minute didn't work, I would go down to 10 seconds then, whatever it takes, because it's in the winning that you start to produce those positive brain chemicals, the dopamine, the serotonin, and that gives you the energy to move forward and do more.
And it keeps you going for sure. Okay, you have a saying, or actually, it's an acronym, WYTABA. What you think about, you bring about, as a way of taking action. Tell me how you came about with this acronym and how to
Yeah,
put it
yeah.
into
So
action.
yeah, kind of relating back to in college when I read that book, Think and Grow Rich. That's where I really started realizing that the dominant thoughts that you have produce your reality. And I was wondering, like, why is that? What you think about, you bring about. Like scientifically, why is that happening? And I realized that there's a part of the brain back here in the back of your head called the reticular activating system. Some people call it the RAS. And what the RAS does, the RAS is the thing that takes and actually, the RAS is probably the thing that throws the dreams over the wall as well. But the RAS takes the information from the subconscious part of the brain, and it decides what to bring to the conscious mind, right? So your RAS is programmed like extremely well with like your name. So if you're in a crowded room and someone says your name, you hear it, right? Or someone says it over the loudspeaker, you hear your name. And so the RAS is the thing that takes it. Now, if there was no RAS, we would go crazy because literally there are thousands of inputs into your brain. You're seeing things, hearing things, smelling things. Your body is monitoring your blood pH. All kinds of things are happening. Super, amount of inputs happening into your brain. So the RAS decides, what do I show you? And so this RAS is programmable, right? So that's why if someone gets up every morning and recites a bring about statement, what you think about, you bring about, that bring about statement, and you're saying it over and over. Maybe you're handwriting it. Maybe you're handwriting it in cursive or writing it with your non-dominant hand. Just all kinds of ways to flood your conscious mind. That programs the RAS to begin to look for ways to that's important for that goal or that thing, right? An example I used in my TEDx talk that I did on this subject was my son. He especially emotionalized things the RAS latches onto. So my son bought his very first car. It was a maroon Acura TL. Now I had never even seen that car before in my whole life, and he sends me this picture, big smile, right? First car that he bought with his own money and all that. Super emotional and so cool. But you know what? After he showed me that picture, guess what happened? I'm driving the next day. Pulling up right next to me at the stoplight is what? That same car. Now my son is in a whole different state. I see the car. I go by the Acura dealer, and there it is on the turnstile in the front, spinning around. Like what? Who's putting all these cars in my universe here? Right? No, the cars were always there. I just wasn't tuned into it. Right? So you can take control of that tuning, and that's where life becomes powerful, is when you take control of that. And it's kind of, I talk about this in the TEDx talk too. It's like a garden, and what you plant grows. Now if you plant nothing, then just the weeds or somebody else is going to plant something in your mind, and then that's going to grow. But if you take control of those thoughts, the dominant thoughts, repeat them over, spaced repetition, doing it right before you go to bed is a great time, right when you wake up, maybe throughout the day. But yes, what you think about, you bring about. And so that concept has played really big in my life since I kind of discovered it in college.
Oh, that is wonderful. And Blaine, I've got so many more questions to ask you and things to talk about, but we're just about out of time. So tell me, how can people find out about you and your work?
Yeah, so the simplest thing is just go to blainetedx.com. So BLAINETEDx.com. And there you can opt in and get a copy of my TEDx talk that I did, and a transcript. And in that TEDx talk, I actually show you a way that you can remind your RAS 100 times a day of whatever your bring about statement is. And the bring about statement could be a goal, but could also just be you want to be more loving or just anything you want to bring about in your life. I'll show you a way to elegantly, simply remind the RAS over 100 times a day how to do that. And if I can serve you in any way, we'll be connected then. You'll have my email address, and happy to help you any way that I can.
We're speaking with How to Get the Results You Want with America's Chief Results Officer, Blaine Oelkers. I hope you've enjoyed today's program. If so, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Until next time, this is Debbie Spector Weissman saying, sweet dreams, everybody.